So I have another special guest today, Jon Guercio. Yes?
Yes, that is me.
That is Jon Guercio, the Kings Park realtor. You may have seen him on Instagram. He's always putting out a lot of special content. And, Jon has been a valuable resource for my clients as well. And we have a great working relationship. And I'm happy to introduce you to Jon. And thank you for being here, my friend.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
My pleasure, man.
Yeah.
One of the things that I'm drawn to, especially with you, is being that you are relatively new into the industry. About 5 years, would you say?
5 years, yeah.
And what makes Jon unique is that he does have a full-time gig. He is an educator, shaping young minds, and which is crazy. So yeah, I'd love to talk a little bit more about that for anybody young that's looking to get into the business. How do you manage it? How do you work your sphere? How are you finding social media? Obviously, social media is a big piece of what we do today. So I know I threw out a lot to you. So let's break it down. So let's start with how you transitioned into real estate. From your everyday.
So, it really started just after we bought our first house. I just kind of fell in love with the process. I was like, this is great. I love this. I love going to see houses. I like this business. I like the speed. I like the negotiating. Like, it just kind of, it pulled me right in. Yeah. And I was like, I could do this. But, like a genius, I immediately thought it was easy. And that was my biggest mistake right away, was thinking, this is so simple. Like, you just do this and this and this, and then everything goes, and the lawyers take care of everything. And it was so naive, because once you're actually dealing with someone's asset, the biggest asset of their life, it takes on a whole new level of seriousness. And that's when I was like, whoa, like, you need to step back and learn everything and not dive in and think that you could just jump in and do this job. Like, you need to really learn the process every single way. And that's kind of the way I've always been, honestly. Like, I've never been like, well, in school I wasn't a great student, but like, I always did my homework. Like, I read the books. Like, I did what I needed to do. Yeah. Like, I did what especially when I got older. When I was younger, it was easy. But then again, when you're dealing with someone's, like, it's their life.
Their finances. Yeah. It's their livelihood. Yeah.
Like, and like the people that I'm working with, most of them, they're not putting $3,000 into the stock market every month. Mm-hmm. That money's going into their house. Like, right. That's going into their mortgage. That's ultimately where it's going to stay and grow.
Blue
and
collar, everyday Joe.
And the last thing I want to do is underserve or improperly serve someone in that position, because you're talking about their life. It's crazy.
So you made the transition into real estate. So you started out with buying your own house and kind of fell in love with the process.
Loved the process. And then it was just a lot of learning from that point on. Like, I worked with a lot of well, actually, my first deal was a listing. It was a co-op, which is a great way to learn, because so much going on with a co-op.
So many moving parts.
Yeah, so many. So that was interesting. There's too many stories to talk about with that one. And it was family. So that was another good learning experience, working with family, because it was also like, not only is this like a customer, but it's a family member. So now I really have to make sure that, like, I get them what they need.
Double the pressure.
Yeah. And then especially when it's the in-laws, now there's also that whole side of the family who's like making sure you're doing it right.
Yeah, of course.
So that was good. And then my second deal, which didn't come to fruition, unfortunately, was a 203K loan. So, like, I got right in with a co-op and a 203K loan to start my education into real estate.
Oh, yeah.
And then it was just kind of like hit the ground running, and it took a long time to balance teaching real estate and, number one, doing both the way I'm supposed to be doing it. But it took a long time, but I've kind of figured it out now, to where, like, I have that balance. Yeah.
And obviously it's working.
It's working, yeah.
Yeah.
The biggest piece of that, honestly, was taking on a partner, who I met this year, my Elijah Rivas. He just joined on to Signature. It's almost a year now, I think. It's just about a year he joined, and he came to one of my open houses that I was doing. He came, and young kid, and he's like dressed to the nines, wearing like a bow tie, and like he's all ready to go. He's very professional. And
eager, yeah.
Yeah, and the
just
best...
Worked.
He just worked.
Clicked,
and then afterwards, I'm like, because me, once we're done with something, it's like, let's go have a beer. Like, that's just the way I operate. Small rewards. So we're sitting there, and I'm like, all right, so do you want to ask me some questions? You saw me do a lot of talking the way I present. And he goes, yeah. He goes, I have a couple of questions. And he pulls out a notebook and starts going through the things that he wants to ask me, and then like writing things down. And I'm like, this kid's amazing. Like, dude, you're working with me. You're not allowed to work with anybody else. That's it. Done. He compliments me very well. He has a little bit of a side gig too. He's like a commodities trader, like during the day. But then he's like doing real estate the rest
Hustling,
of the day.
man.
Hustling, door knocking, everything that like I can't do, he's doing. So it's just kind of, we're making this like team together, and it's great. It's been awesome.
Yeah, I think the team concept is really important because, again, you know, to wear all the hats yourself, you know, just it makes it that much harder.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I have great resources here at my company. Deanna, my assistant, you know, I couldn't imagine doing what I do without having that support.
Yeah. It's so hard. Like I had the mindset of like, oh, I'm just going to do everything. I got everything under control. And then it's like, well, if I have somebody else who's helping me, this is way better. And I've always been a team guy too. Like, you played sports in high school. So did I. Like, I was always football player, wrestler. I was always very like team focused and like rah, let's go guys, like leadership roles. And then it's like, why aren't I doing this for real estate?
In real estate, yeah.
Like, it doesn't make sense. And now when we name the team the Nest Egg Team, and it's really just
Love it.
Elijah and me. Yeah, but you know, that's again the whole philosophy.
Establishing a nest egg, yeah.
Yeah,
it's the best investment that you can possibly make. And you know, I know you deal with a lot of first time home buyers as well as I do, and you know, it's just about education and letting them know all the differences that, you know, different programs that are out there. And I think a lot of times people will, when I say people, loan officers, banks, they'll pigeonhole clients into specific programs. And the reality is because they don't have access to a lot of what's out there. Mm-hmm. And that's one thing that I love about CMG is that we do have access to a lot of different programs, and it gives the client an opportunity to really take advantage of the best opportunity for them.
Yeah. Like the situation, the loans you were structuring that you were telling me about yesterday, like the second loan, I had never heard that. I'm not going to try and explain it whatsoever, but like hearing that strategy, I was like, this is why I love sending people to you, because it's like, you're going to come up with something that I'm not seeing that on social media. I'm not reading about that. I'm not seeing that anywhere. When you brought that out, I was like, whoa, that's an awesome strategy. Like, that's great.
Yeah, so and that strategy is simply just breaking up the loan into two. It's a great way to avoid PMI. It's what we call piggyback mortgages. There's a great nonprofit organization, CDCLI, that offers heavily discounted second-rate mortgages as low as 3.5% on a 30-year fixed. So, for example, let's say you're buying a house for $500,000. You do an 80% first, or a $400,000 first, and then you would do the remaining portion as a secondary mortgage that would equal the 95%. And again, you avoid PMI that way. And a nice chunk of that loan is being taken advantage of a lower interest rate at 3.5%, opposed to what today's rates are, 7% and change. Yep. So there's a huge advantage there. And then you can always refinance your primary and leave your secondary at a later time. So you still always get that benefit of that lower rate and program for as long as you keep the house. So yeah, it's awesome. It's just whether or not somebody fits into it.
Right. Yeah. There's always the criteria.
Right. And there's more heavy lifting, more paperwork and things that your client has to do, but it's worth it in the end. So I'm going to ask you a tough question here because yes, I'm going to do that. There is a negative connotation to realtors who this is not their primary job, right? I think you kind of alluded to it before because you have a partner, and that definitely can balance out that equation.
If you're not doing this as your primary job, someone assumes that you're not putting in the time. That's number one. And the amount of time I put in every day to real estate is equal to my other job. Like, I stop one job and I do the next. And that's just, it's not because I'm trying to work harder or be better than anybody. It's just the way I'm wired. Like, I can't stop. So I'm a Buffini guy, working by referral. That's how
you build your business. Yeah, man.
You were saying before about like how you manage all this, and like that system makes it work, because one of the other nice things about, like, let's tell the truth, like 90% of the job for a real estate agent is prospecting, right? Yeah. Like, I don't have to prospect the majority of my day because, number one, I have a great sphere of people. It's all my friends, my family. Those are the people that I talk to.
Sphere.
That's who I service. Like, that's who I'm worried about taking care of at the end of the day. And anybody else that comes into my sphere that I work with outside of there for a listing, for a buyer, they're now like part of my family. So now it's like, all right, I'm going to service them the exact way I've serviced my sister-in-law, my brother-in-law, everybody that I know. Like, right. I'm going to take care of them. And that system allows me to work one job as a teacher and service the families and kids of Elwood, but also I can be a real estate agent and take
successful.
just as good of a care of them as anybody else would. And that's like the most important thing, because I wouldn't do it if I couldn't do it right. I would step away because it's too serious for me to ever think like, oh, I could half-ass this. Like, no way. Like, there's no way you could half-ass a $500,000 asset. I don't need a $300,000 asset, a $150,000 co-op. Right. I don't care. Like, there's no half-ass.
Buying a home is just, it's probably one of the biggest things that you'll ever do in your life, aside from having children. In my world anyway. That's how I view it.
Yeah. Well, because for most people, how many are you buying? One, maybe two. You know, like that's it. Like, and a lot of people now don't want to go into starters. Don't want to start a home. They don't want to co-op. So it's like they're looking for that big time forever home and being done. So like, you really got to be on your game.
Yeah, 100%.
But that's what I love about what you do, because like when I send someone to you, it's like I know. Like I loved how when I was sending in offers and you were the loan officer, like you called them. I didn't even have to ask you to call, and it's just, okay, I'm going to call the agent right now. I know them. And it's like, that's what you have to do.
It helps.
Point. Yeah.
It helps. When you've been in the business a long time, you've definitely made a lot of connections, and people get an opportunity to work with you and experience what you're about, and they know that you do the right thing. And so when they see your name, they go, all right, yeah, no, this one's good.
I love dropping your name. I'm like, oh yeah, they're using Jon Trama. Do you know him? I'm like, oh yeah, I know Jon. Yeah. So if Jon says they're good, they're good. And usually it's like, yeah, if Jon says they're good, they're good. And it's like, you made that reputation for yourself. It's awesome.
Thank you. So yes, my tagline now is "There's no drama with Jon Trama." You know this, right?
I didn't know that, but I love it.
Is that bad? Is that bad?
No, that's fantastic.
I can't even take ownership of it. Quentin Hardy, if you ever watch, I appreciate it. That was yours.
That is well done, Quentin.
Yes,
I'm gonna need one.
Yeah.
Wherever. Oh, there's the cameras.
So talk to me about social media. So what's that experience been like? I mean, obviously you're putting out a lot of content. You see me doing it. How's that working out for you?
Feedback? Usually very good. I don't have like the hugest audience yet. I'm okay with that. Right. My whole goal is to inform. That's really like, I know you should entertain, you should educate. I'm mostly like informational, because I don't even want to take the tone as teacher, because I do it all day. So like, I just want to take the tone of like informational. So I just always try and explain, here's what's going on and here's what it may mean for you as a buyer or seller. And that's like the majority of what I try to put out there. And it's just honestly like, you see so much in a newspaper, anywhere. But my favorite thing is just to look at Newsday and look local and say like, okay, this is going to affect a lot of people. Let me make a quick reel about it, because whether people are reading or not, that's up to them. But like, at least they could get the information from me. And usually the feedback's good. I have a lot, when I see like a big time, maybe like investor, or like, there's a couple of people that follow me that are doing a lot of business, and they're like, you put out great information.
You do.
I'm like, thank you.
You do.
It's cool. Again, like my whole thing is servicing my sphere, and we just sent out an informational thing about estate planning and the checklist. So I got in touch with a really great attorney. His name is Brian Tully. He's an elder care attorney, and he's going to come on and do a webinar on Monday, the 28th of August. Actually, they probably won't see this by then.
Probably not.
Yeah. But I'll tell you what, I have another one after that.
There you go.
In October, my favorite home inspector, I don't know if you know Ralph Lush, Lush Home Inspections, but he's done a couple of inspections for deals that we've done. And he's going to come on and talk about like prepping your house for winter, and just little nuggets, golden nuggets of like what you should be looking for in your house, where like you may not think it's a big deal, but this could be a big deal.
Sure.
And now we're not talking about deal killers, we're talking about house savers. So he's going to come on and do that webinar, and we're probably going to do it bi-monthly. I have for December, my financial advisor, Chris Morandi, he's going to come on and do some financial planning advice for anybody that wants to sign on. So yeah, it's just, giving not just value, but I want to give like real value to everybody that I'm dealing with.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I mean, listen, that's what these platforms are for.
Right.
Listen, I get it. You have to find your style, what works for you. Some people go the comedic, route. That's not me personally.
I wish I was funnier. Like I'm just not. Like I want to be funny, and I know
funny.
I like have my moments, but it's more in like the conversational exchange.
The banter,
but like
yeah.
For me to actually be funny on video is like it falls so flat. It's like crickets every time. It's so bad.
Well, you said it's not any worse than performing and not right.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, yeah, being in a band, and do you want me to tell?
Yeah,
these stories?
yeah,
oh
absolutely.
My God, we were just. I mean, for the 5 great shows that we did out of 150, like there was a lot that were mediocre, and then there were a lot that were just bad. And when you're bad in front of your friends, it's one thing, right? Like when you're just playing at the bar and like you screw up and whatever, it's like, okay. When you're in front of like 200 people that have no idea who you are,
right.
and like the bar actually paid for you to be there, and then like sometimes, you know, we play a lot of improvisational music. Sometimes shit just falls apart. Like
Right.
you're in the middle of something and it just like everything just starts dying like one by one, and it's like, where are we? Like I don't know. Like, oh shit.
And you have no other choice but to keep going.
That's it. You just keep going. Like, this got unplugged, his snare fell over, like, we're sitting there, I forgot the words, and it's just like, all right, what? When you go through those moments in front of people who are looking at you, and they're not mad at you, they're just feeling so embarrassed
for you. Yeah.
Like, so much, and you could see it on their face where they're just like, oh my God, and people are and once you go through that, it's like, what if someone doesn't like my social media, just unfollow me, bro.
Right.
Like, I don't care.
Move on.
Yeah.
Move on. Swipe
That's it.
Yeah.
Yep. I could be out of your hair in 10 seconds, like maybe less.
It's great. I love it.
Oh, it's so funny.
But it's prepared you for, you know, being in this a little bit in this business. Yeah.
Yeah.
You need to have thick skin.
Yes, 100%. Because someone's going to, I'm not big enough to be taken down yet, but at some point, not that I'll be like huge or anything, but at some point, someone's going to, you know, throw something at me that's not very nice, and what are you going to do? Like, whatever. It comes with the territory.
Sure does.
You know? I prepared something.
Yeah, sure. What do you got?
This is for you. All right. I was supposed to send you questions, but I decided I'm not going to. I'm going to read them here.
Okay. What do you got?
All right. Ready? Do you want funny, or do you want serious, or do you want not serious?
Those are funny. What do you got?
Okay. If 15-year-old Jon Trama walked in here right now, what would he say to you?
If 15-year-old Jon Trama walked into this room, what would he say to me?
Yep.
He would definitely, you know, comment on my hair or lack of. That's for sure. Because I did have nice hair in high school.
Did you really?
Oh, yeah.
I got to see a picture.
Oh, yeah.
All right. That brings me into my next question. What movie character do you think you look most like?
There's so many. There's so many. Well, you know what people always say. Yeah, well, he's not really a movie character, but Howie Mandel, I've heard.
Okay.
I mean,
Okay.
it's any bald guy, for Pete's sake. You know, some people used to say, again, not movie, but somebody used to say Andy Pettit when I used to have a hat. I think it's because of my schnoz. I'm trying to think. Mr. Clean. That's bad.
When you did the full shave, I was going to call you. And I was going to be like, can we do some social media and do Dr. Evil? Like, you do Dr. Evil?
Oh, yeah.
Because I never saw you fully shaved before. I'm like, we got to do it.
Did you ever see my other ones with my mustache?
No.
Oh, my God, dude. I got to show you those. Oh, my God.
I had long hair, too, for a while in the band.
During COVID, I grew out my facial hair. I had the N95 mask, right? And you know, I looked like a Krispy Kreme worker. That's what everyone was making fun of me. But then I ended up shaving my beard. But I just started making some funny, trimmings.
Yeah.
I did the pork chops,
Okay.
and then I did the handlebars.
I did the handlebar too.
I mean, somebody told me I looked like Ron Jeremy in one of my photos. You know what?
I have no idea who that is. So.
Yeah, sure you know. What else you got? Any other one?
Yeah. Well, how about more professional?
Okay, what do you got?
Actually, not more professional. What is your favorite restaurant that people may not know about? Not that they don't know that it's your favorite, but like maybe it's like a low key restaurant that is not like super popular that you really like. Anything off the top of your head?
The first thing that came to my mind, because for whatever reason I never get a chance to go back there, is Piccolo's in Huntington. A good Italian joint.
Okay.
I've always enjoyed it. Again, I live in Smithtown, so it's not, the most convenient place.
Bit of a hike.
Yeah. I mean, so obviously there's plenty of Italian joints in Smithtown and Comac that we go to, but yeah, Piccolo's is one of my favorite Italian joints.
Okay.
That not too many people really know about, and
I've never been there. Yeah.
There you go. All right, so anyway, Jon, it was really great spending some time with you today.
Thanks for having me, man.
Again, it's always awesome to speak with you, hang out, work together with clients. Again, Jon is a great realtor, a great resource, plenty of great information online. So definitely look him up. How do people find you?
You could follow me on Instagram at Jon the LI Realtor. That's the easiest way. You could just find me by Googling Jonathan Guercio Real Estate. I'm with Signature Premier Properties, so if you Google me, my name and signature, I'll pop right up. But Instagram's probably the easiest way to find me. Jon the LI Realtor.
Awesome. All right, brother.
Hey, thanks for having me.